Hi, I'm Mark Small, Civil Discourse Now, and my guest today, Cassie Jackson. Cassie, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on
Oh,
again.
just spiffy. We're in the middle of an election season. We're a little over a month to go before we have elections here, and we both have kind of had interactions on the internet with a couple different shows. But I want to point out people get their information from certain places these days, and you might view yourself as being red or blue and in the middle of people who are gray, but people listen to things and they need to have accurate information. One of the places from which they can get information are shows on the internet. There's a show that I've been on as a guest a couple of times, had been marginalized with like a 2-minute spot the last year and a half or so. And there were things that were said in the last 2 days that offended me about that show. And Cassie, we both saw that. There were things that were taken out of context on a show, Mouthwash. And I was really surprised, especially with a headline that said, Micah strikes back or something.
No, that was on mine. That was not even on, that was on my episode. That's, yeah. And so, yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
No, it's that it was implicit was that Micah Beckwith, who's a right wing, as far right wing as you can get, nominee for lieutenant governor here in Indiana with the MAGA Republican Party, had said things that he's going to do as a nominee. John Schmitz has kind of tried to act like he's objective about things, but he's covering for
John Smith has also talked a lot of shit behind the scenes about Micah, quite frankly. So let's get that all the way straight, because I'm not playing games with this. I am extremely offended because, and Mark is being marginalized in a different way on Mouthwash, and I'd love for you to share that. But what I want to talk about really quickly is how John entitled my last episode, which was with Mark, and I had him on, and it was entitled Micah Strikes Back. And so for a lot of reasons, and which I don't want to go into detail here, but I can appreciate that my people, or people that are educated enough to understand why a woman would be very upset to have a title like Micah Strikes Back when I'm his rival, and striking means, you know, that's a physical word, and striking back would imply that I did something wrong, that was like he had a right to, or whatever. It's totally unacceptable. I don't, and I think what Mark will get to, and I'll finish up very quickly, but it's unacceptable. And what I've seen from John recently, and this was the topper, is it's turning me off. It's making me wonder. And so, yeah.
Well, and I think that goes to the accuracy of things that are said on that program. That began back in August of 2023. Cassie and I are both the same Hamilton East Public Library meeting that John characterized as being a mob. We were both there. People were interviewed. People were upset at the meeting. Nobody was arrested. There were two cops within 15 feet of us who were under a duty under Indiana law to arrest somebody who commits a felony in their presence. There wasn't even anybody being told by the cops, chill, anything like that.
That's exactly right. It was a very packed meeting, and there were lots of different, or there were two very distinct groups of personalities. And I will say that I stood next to John and other people who were not in agreement with me. And there was no violence. There was no even, now I interrupted a few times when Mike was speaking because I didn't think he was speaking loud enough. If anything, I was calling out like that. But using the term mob also is very aggressive. And to me, it implies that there's some kind of violent thing that could happen.
Well, and it lays a groundwork, I think, because we're looking at an election that the far right is going to probably try to overturn, since they're losing so badly in the polls, it would appear.
Yeah.
And right now they're sowing the seeds of doubt about truth. Let me be very clear. John Schmitz does not state truths on that show such that people should be able to rely upon them. By our being cut out in the last show, where he's chopping things up so that all of a sudden he's saying what occurred on there, that's not accurate, and it's not good.
And it's misleading. And quite frankly, as a friend of his, that I have trusted him, truly, I have grown to trust him. It was startling because, and I don't want to get into the topic, but it was startling because I had literally just spoken to John about this the week before, and over the course of our friendship, many times we've brought this topic up, particularly because of where I used to work, and that's all I'm going to say. But the flip flop was so significant and so upsetting to me personally that then when the title came out, well, and you guys won't see that. You won't see that on the video. But when the title came out, then I was like, well, okay, this is really truly a different side of that I've not seen, you know?
We're going to wind up here for this episode today. We'll be back. We're going to do a series of these. Keep your ears open, your mind open. Civil discourse now, Mark Small, Cassie Jackson. Thank you.
You don't want to do it longer?
Hold.